Hello and welcome. This is Peace News Now. We are live this Tuesday, July 22nd, 2014. There's a lot going on in the world of peaceful resistance. This show is, of course, broadcast on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. We focus primarily on stories of peaceful resistance all around the world. Today we'll be talking about and with Michael Hartman, a raw milk farmer out in Minnesota. We'll also share news about Keene making the front page, well, businesses in Keene making the front page for accepting Bitcoin. Huge news, and you won't find that on newspapers anywhere else. Plus, an Ambassador for Peace program opens up at our friend organization Harmony for Peace. We'll tell you about that. Border Patrol agents pull a gun on a Boy Scout for video recording, and LA street artist puts Obama posters on bus benches, pretty much slamming him for all of his scandals. But first, we talk with Michael Hartman, who is on the line from Minnesota. Michael, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
It's good to be with you. Now, we have a chat room at peacenewsnow.com/live where listeners are able to submit questions that they may have for you. We also have the call-in line is closed because you are on it currently, but we will use Skype to connect with anyone else who has questions or comments. Our Skype address is Peace News Now, all one word. You just submit a contact request, it will be accepted, and then we'll put you on the air. So, Michael, for those who aren't familiar with you, would you tell them a little bit about your history as a raw milk farmer and why you've been getting so much press these past few years?
Well, this goes back quite a ways back already. Actually back in the late 1996, 98, way back then when we started a little creamery on the farm. Was at that time was Mom's Dairy, and we got the licenses and everything from the state, and we were pasteurizing milk. But at that point, we were the only organic dairy and milk in the state of Minnesota. And at that time, things went pretty good for the first year. I was kind of a little disappointed in the department when they told me, well, this is how you have to operate a creamery, and yet I look at the book and the pasteurization milk ordinance, and it wasn't so. And so I had to actually instruct the supervisor of the inspectors around you that what the law says or what the rules say. And things went fairly well after a while, but then later on, then they started saying, well, you got to put this in, you got to spend money, and well, it went on, and finally at one point in time I was fed up with it, and then I said, I'm not going to do any more stuff. I'm not going to put any more, I'm not going to spend any more money, and I'm not going to get any more licenses and everything else. And well, they pulled our product, and when they pulled our product, the stores and the consumers were hollering and screaming and calling, what's going on and what happened, and I explained it to them. And there was about a 3-week period, and all of a sudden our customers set up drop stops for us, and we were back in business in 3 weeks, full bore.
And what is that? What is a drop stop for people who aren't familiar? Because this is sort of like this is a new territory for folks who don't pick up raw milk. They may not know. Okay.
What we did is, there's a family host that says, we can drop off the milk there. We got coolers there and everything, and there's from 10 to 20 families that come there and pick up milk. So that's a drop stop. And so that's what we did. We take orders, and then once a week we come to these drop stops and we drop off either it's milk or it was cheese or it was butter or ice cream or yogurt. And we even had beef or meat, and we had pork, we had chicken, we had eggs. We have quite a diverse farm, so we were selling all those things, and that's what we delivered to the drop stop.
And how long have you been a farmer?
Well, my dad says since I was 3 years old, but basically in '74, that's when I kind of started. I got married, and then we got on our own, and then in '78 I went organic at that point.
And when did you get the first hint that there might be a problem with you selling raw milk? Was it just 1996, like you mentioned, or was it sometime before?
No, it wasn't that at all there. I mean, they left us go. This When they pulled my license, they said I couldn't sell anymore to stores, and then I had the drop stops. That was back in 2001, and it wasn't until 2010, on May 26th, at about 1 o'clock, when here comes 8 squad cars, deputy cars, and 3 vans from the state saying somebody got sick from our milk. And that's when the first issue ever came up. But that's a long story and everything else. We went through all that, but at the end of it, the state admitted it was only alleged.
Wow, so there was no evidence. They just brought forward an allegation and then used that to investigate. And did they jail you, Michael?
No, they didn't. No, I didn't get jailed at all or anything like that. They went through the farm and they took samples all they wanted, and they couldn't find any samples that had E. coli in it at all. And then about a month later, they came back with another warrant, and what they did, because they couldn't find anything, they said that the place was in insanitary conditions. And so if it's in sanitary condition, that means everything is adulterated, therefore I can't sell anything.
Okay.
So that was...
Well, I want to share an article about you, Michael, that has recently hit the news. This is an article from last month about the most recent update from you. So just hold that thought for a moment. I want to fill our listeners in. A little bit of backstory of how you came onto my radar. This article from mprnews.org reads, a state judge has declined to punish a southern Minnesota farmer for selling raw milk and violating the terms of his probation. State District Court Judge Erica MacDonald made the decision at a hearing Wednesday in Sibley County District Court in Gaylord, Minnesota. Michael Hartman pleaded guilty to selling raw milk illegally in 2012 and was given probation. Wow, it even sounds like some sort of a drug crime. This is what you would typically hear in drug court. But he admitted in court that he continued to sell the unpasteurized product off the farm, which is against state law. Assistant Sibley County Attorney Don Lanois, or Lanois, I'm not quite sure. Do you know about that, Michael? This county attorney who prosecuted you?
Yeah, Donald Lanois.
Lanois prosecuted the case and says farmer Michael Hartman should have been penalized. Quote, our feeling is that declining to impose a consequence for violating the court's order eviscerates the meaning and legitimacy of the court's order, Lanois said. So we felt that to not do so really takes away all meaning from our original plea agreement and the original sentencing order. With the criminal case settled, Hartman said he will continue to sell raw milk at the sites in the Twin Cities. Quote, because right now at this point nobody has really said that it's violating any rules or regulations on that, Hartman said. Can you confirm, is that a true quote?
That's true.
That is fair and accurate. Okay.
Yes,
so
that is true.
And just finishing up the article, it says state agriculture officials say other enforcement actions are pending against Hartman, but declined to give specifics. Maybe you can tell us more about that. The Minnesota Department of Health in 2010 found that Hartman's raw milk products sickened more than a dozen people. I'm skeptical of what the Minnesota Department of Health says, but we'll get into the evidence, the facts, when Michael Hartman returns on Peace News Now. Thanks for listening. You can check us out at peacenewsnow.com/live.
On On LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Amaji Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful .999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and other metals. Check out their selection and pay with bitcoins or Federal Reserve notes at metal.lrn.fm. That's metal.lrn.fm.
Since time began, tyrants have taken...
Hey, Michael, this is Derek J. And what I was learning during the break there is that one of our broadcast feeds was not hearing you, and that's why I started talking instead of you. So I'm going to fix that problem during this 4-minute break. We've got 3 minutes left, and hopefully we're able to resolve it. Otherwise, we're going to have to find some other way to do this interview. I'm wondering if you have Skype, if that might be an option for you.
No.
Okay. Okay.
At the computer or something?
Yes, and we will find another way. That's no problem. Just hang tight and hold still. We'll be right back.
Okay.
A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vidadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com. If there was a place that liberty-minded people had been elected to political positions and were rolling back government, would you move there? If freedom lovers had secured a 20% voting bloc and can veto most bad bills, would you move? Well, the time has come to sign the pledge at freestateproject.com.
Hello?
Hey, Ian, this is Derek J. here. And,
hey, I hear you, and I also hear me right back.
Oh, okay, so that's probably the issue. I've probably got one of the inputs set wrong. So I'm gonna...
Check.
Okay.
Check.
Okay, I'm changing capture to this USB device, I think. All right.
Check.
Okay, now are you hearing yourself back?
I am not hearing myself, and I am hearing you.
Okay, great. And Michael, are you still with us?
I'm still with you.
I hear him.
Okay, very good. Problem solved. Thank you, Ian.
Excellent.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
Have a good show.
Very good. Thank you.
Saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Peace News Now. We are live, and we're speaking with a seditious farmer. Well, I call him seditious. I don't know what he would say about himself. Michael, I certainly look up to you for your courage in standing by your convictions. Some of our listeners were having some difficulty hearing you in the first segment. That was my mistake. I had some wires crossed. So if you could recap for us, you said that your troubles began in 1996, but then you were let go. Then you had some more troubles in 2002, and take it from there, if you would.
Well, back in 2001, when I basically got out of the stores and went to these private drop stops, where our customers called and said they wanted our product, and that's when the raw milk started delivering. Because when I was in the stores and licensed, I was warned not to carry any raw milk on the truck, and I understood that. But once I didn't have a license, they took it. Then, like I said, then we went to these drop stops, and these customers wanted all the way from raw milk to cheese to yogurt to butter to ice cream, and along with our other meat products of pork and beef and chickens and eggs and things like that.
How are they hearing about all these things, Michael? Isn't this sort of an underground society, these people who eat fresh farm food?
Exactly how they knew, it's hard to say. But like I said, I didn't advertise, or I don't put out brochures. I don't have a website. It was all word of the mouth.
Wow. So it must be good stuff. If it's enough to travel by word of mouth, you know it's good quality ingredients.
So I mean, and we got quite a few people on a waiting list, too. So there is a long line of people that want to get in on, but we're limited here. We only got so many cows, so many acres, and so much labor here. So we just kind of stick what we can handle.
Wow.
And maintain a family operation.
Our listeners were asking during the break in the chat room, where can they get raw milk? They want to get in on this stuff. Now that they're hearing about it, they're saying, we're in California, we're in Texas, we're in New York. What do we do?
Well, that's up to them. They got to go out and seek their farmer, and check it out, and it's their choice. But it's not that easy. There isn't going to be websites. There isn't going to be, because there isn't a big supply of raw milk and farmers that are producing it and providing for it. And in Minnesota, a lot of people, just because of what happened to me, a lot of people kind of were hiding in the bushes a little bit. They were doing it, but since this last hearing, now even some people have even put it out on the internet, advertising that we are back in business. We're selling raw milk. We're at this drop stop at this time, and so it's opened up quite a bit since this last hearing.
We got another question from the chat room. What are your thoughts on the use of animal antibiotics for people instead of going the FDA-approved way with doctor prescriptions?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I don't know what they mean. It sounds like they're asking, would you use antibiotics that are for animals instead of ones that are for humans, because the FDA might, I don't know, stop them from developing. I'm not entirely sure what that question is asking. Do you have any, do you use animal antibiotics on your farm?
No, we don't.
Okay.
It's all in nutrition.
Yeah.
And it's all in environment, and so I haven't used antibiotics, and I haven't had a vet on this place for, I'd say way back in the late 70s, since that time.
Yeah.
And so, but we don't push the cows. They're on pasture. They don't get any the grains and things like that, and soybean meal, and like I said, we don't push the cows and to the maximum. And we got cows that are 10, 12, 13 years old here, where the state average is probably only about 3.5 years.
Wow. And they still produce great milk that people are demanding and putting themselves on waiting lists for.
Yes, it does.
That's remarkable. How many people were involved in prosecuting you? Do you have any idea?
A lot. I really don't. I really don't know. I mean, there was the department. They had so many people. They had the sheriff. They had the attorneys. There was a lot of them, and I really couldn't tell you.
So you're a pretty bad guy if you're getting multiple departments, the sheriffs. How many people worked overtime on this, investigating, bringing up allegations, doing paperwork, courtroom costs? I mean, any idea how much money was spent bringing you to court?
Well, this is all hearsay, so I couldn't say it for sure, but I was told it was $1.7 million.
Whoa!
But this is hearsay.
You must be a pretty hardened criminal to garner $1.7 million of Minnesota state tax money. I assume it's all state tax money, right? There were no feds involved.
No, this was all state. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a real strain on the community of Minnesota. You know, it must be public enemy number one. They're looking out for Michael Hartman. Your pictures posted everywhere. Are you famous where you live?
Not necessarily. I'm still an outcast a little bit in my area. I'm as an organic farmer, and everybody's conventional around here, and I do things a little different outside the box a little bit. So, not really.
Well, you brought up your father. Was he a farmer as well?
Yes, he was, and he's the one that I learned a lot of this stuff, organic farming, and even a lot of the things that I believe in and stood for. That all comes back from my father and my parents.
I don't know your age, so is your father still with us?
Oh yes.
Yes.
He's almost 90 years old, and he's still active quite a bit yet.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. So what are some of his thoughts been since he taught you how to do organic farming, and now you're ending up arrested for it? What does he say?
Well, we talked about this and everything else, and he said, yeah, I don't like the publicity, but he said, I understand where you're going and what you're doing, and he said, I see no wrong in it. You aren't hurting anybody. As far as he was concerned, he said, I'm behind you all the way.
So where does your moral compass come from? Just Dad?
You know, yes, I said I grew up in a family, a strict, religious family and stuff like that, where Sundays we do not work. We just do the work we had to, but tractors don't get out of the sheds on Sundays and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's just as you go along in time, you start to realize your values are more important and people are more important than how big a checkbook you can get.
Yeah, but I want to know, there are so many people who say that and think that, but then they don't act that way, and you do, and I'm trying to discover what makes the difference between someone who says, this is what my morals say, and so that's how I'm going to act. Most people just compromise. What makes you different?
That's just the way I am. I mean, I don't know. I guess that I think different a little bit. I look at the idea of self-sustaining a farm more so.
We're speaking with Michael Hartman, Minnesota raw milk farmer, arrested for the crime of selling raw milk, engaged in an underground activity. You can call in, share your thoughts. Skype us at Peace News Now.
I've been told no in many different ways.
They give you an order and you're going to...
All right, how you holding up?
I'm doing all right.
Okay, great. We've got another 4-minute break here, and then we will be going from, I guess your time, it would be 9:33 to 9:43.
Okay.
All right, just to give you a heads up of where the clock is going, and
okay, so
I'll be silent on this end, but I can hear you if you have a message for me.
Okay, so is everything going all right with you?
Everything is good in studio. Yeah, I'm nice and relaxed. I've got a big glass of water. I'm going to turn on the AC during this break because I can't have it on while we're on air. And yeah, I'm going to cool this room down a little bit. It's hot.
Okay.
All right. We'll be back soon.
Okay.
VictimlessCrimespree.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nestle Pure Life Water, helping you drink better and live better by providing a zero-calorie alternative to sugary drinks. Visit us at nestle-purelife.us. When kids are playing, they often don't want to stop to keep hydrated, so send them out with a bottle of water and encourage them to take frequent drink breaks, or call them inside for a quick sip. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Are you making sense to the boomer mindset? I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. 80 million baby boomers comprise 25% of the population and control most of the USA's wealth. As aging parents pass on, they'll control more. Boomers are 46 to 65 years old and regard themselves as midlife. They identify as neither young nor old. They're post-minivan and pre-retirement, and they don't like being called boomers. They think me. Many of the purchases boomer couples make are individual purposes. They've been experimenters all their lives. If you want their attention, tell stories and keep it simple. If something seems complicated, boomers can dismiss it as, I don't need this. And if you're looking for work, you may be applying to a boomer, so relate accordingly. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's Keene, New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love, and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Yeah, welcome back to Peace News. We're speaking with Michael Hartman, a heroic farmer who courageously violates man-made law but follows natural law. That's how I might put it. Would you agree with that characterization, Michael?
For the most part, yes.
Okay, fair. Well, I want to get into the moral, ethical discussion of, why is it moral to disobey the law or defy authority, to farm and give raw milk to people?
Well, I don't think I'm defying law at all, because in Minnesota, we, in our Constitution, it's Article 13, Section 7, says that if you operate and cultivate the land, you can sell and peddle the products of the farm without obtaining a license or permit. And in 2001, we started a case against the department, and we went up to the Supreme Court. And in 2005, when their decision came out, the Supreme Court said that I don't need a license. And being relieved of a license, I no longer have to ask the government.
Oh no! Somehow Michael just got disconnected. Unclear why that happened. Maybe a bad connection. But he is welcome to call back, of course, on our call-in line. I hope he will do that. In the meantime, your thoughts are welcome. We've got another article about Michael where he was... How many times has he been arrested, I'm wondering? If you just Google Michael Hartman raw milk, tons of articles appear, some dating back all the way to 2010, characterizing his rebel history from the Star Tribune, which writes, the organic farmer who produced raw milk linked to Woo! All kinds of bells and whistles going off. And I think it's probably Michael who's called us. Michael, is that you?
Yes, I got disconnected here somehow.
Hey, welcome back. I don't know, sometimes the connection just decides it's had enough of our conversation, but we'll continue. We're talking about morals, and why is it moral to defy authority? You say you're not defying authority because it's perfectly permissible within Minnesota state law.
Yes, and that's what I don't know how far I got, but in Article 13, Section 7 of the Minnesota State Constitution says that if you operate and cultivate a farm or garden, you can sell and peddle the products of the farm without obtaining a license or permit. Now, this issue came before the Supreme Court case in State versus Hartman in 2005, and their decision was that I did not need a license, and I can sell all the products of the farm, and I don't have to ask permission of the government thereof. That was the Supreme Court decision on that case. And so why the state is still saying I need a license and I can't do this, I don't know. I mean, and that's what we're going to get that straightened out here in the future very well. But the Minnesota statutes also say that if you sell directly to the consumer, no license is needed either. But that was their biggest thing. They said, you need a license. And I'm saying, well, your own rules and the own laws and the Constitution already says that I don't.
Well,
but,
how important is it? I get that you believe that what you're doing is perfectly permissible within the bounds of the law. But how important is it to you to follow the law? In other words, if the Constitution were changed to make your behavior illegal, would you still provide raw milk?
Well, yes, I would. Because,
all right. I was hoping you would say yes.
Because it goes back to the fundamental rights of our inalienable rights by our Creator God. You know, so that is the law, basically, that applies to men and women and families. The Constitution basically was to restrict the government and to secure these rights that we were given. And the statutes and stuff, that was for the corporations, the LLCs, and all the other stuff too. So that's not really, those don't really apply to the men and women. So.
Yeah, I wonder what are your thoughts on self-ownership? So I believe that all people own their own bodies, and so it's up to them to decide what they choose to ingest, and that goes for everything from cannabis to hard drugs to something as benign as raw milk. But it all falls under the same umbrella. I am my own master. I choose what goes into my body, and not some government bureaucrat. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. I mean, we all have these fundamental rights to pick and choose what we want to feed our family, what we want to feed ourselves, and everything else. And right now, if one wants to get drunk and alcoholic and have problems, they can do that. Perfectly legal. So, but raw milk, I mean, we grew up on raw milk, and many people did. And what's the harm of that?
I want to know what other issues you care about passionately. Typically, if someone has a strong passion, it's not just for one thing. Do you? What else do you care about? Maybe ending wars, or is there something else that sits on your radar screen?
There's a lot of things, but it gets into deep discussions and everything else. Exactly about the law and about the status of the people, and most of the time, what I understand is the law really never changes. It's really the status of the people that change, and with the contract with the government and everything else. And for a lot of degree, sometimes I don't blame the government. I think we blame ourselves for not understanding our rights and sticking with them. And so sometimes I think the government is doing what the people want. And if you don't want to be part of that, you can separate yourself from that. And and
How?
be a part of what you believe.
How? I'm trying. Michael, I would love to separate myself from them. They don't seem to want to let me.
Well, I know we've been working on that for quite a while and everything else, but even this time, with all this rigmarole that I went through with the department, and they always kept telling me, that's all you have to do is get a license, and that's all, and then everything will be fine. But I said, then can I sell raw milk? They said, well, no, you can't do that. But it's all about the contract, all about a license with these agencies. And if you separate yourself from these strings that are attached, they really don't have the authority. They're going to fight you for it, and you're going to have to fight for it. And I've been doing that for almost 20 years, and they don't really come after you. They don't really try to enforce it. You know, the department has told me many times, you know, we're ordering you to stop using the creamery processing, and my answer to them is, get a court order.
And on what authority? I mean, I wonder that these people giving you orders, aren't they complete strangers? Have you ever met any of these people?
Nope. Not until all this happened.
Right, not until they're ordering you to stop using your own property. I mean, they never even saw your creamery, and they're telling you to stop using it?
That's what they were trying to do.
You know, I'm skeptical of their authority, Michael. I think that they're just a bunch of thugs who are ordering other people around, and they have no authority to do so. They're just acting like kings, and they wear no crown.
And it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's probably what it is. But many of us got strings attached to the government. We get benefits and privileges, and that's what kind of brings us in there.
Yeah, there are some benefits, so I'm told. I'm still waiting to find out what they are. We're speaking with Michael Hartman. He is a raw milk farmer in Minnesota. We've got one more segment left, still time for your questions. You can make them in the chat room at peacenewsnow.com/live, or if you're feeling more brave, Skype in. Peace News Now.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden.
Hey, Michael, thanks for hanging in there. So we've got one more segment left, and you ready to go? Do you have a website or something I should plug at the end of this interview?
Nope. That's one of the strings attached. We're private.
Okay, so you want to stay private. That's fair enough.
That's how you stay private.
Yes.
when you get into the public, you know, internet and stuff like that, that's how you lose your privacy.
Oh, does that have legal implications for you? Like, I remember when I was at Vernon Hershberger's trial, the jury decided not to convict him because he had a private agreement with each of his members. Is that something similar to what you've got?
That's correct.
I see. Okay, I understand. We'll have to talk about that and explain it to the listeners when we come back.
Okay.
All right, great. Be right back.
Okay.
And we go from, this one's a little bit shorter because it's at the end of the segment, so it's 10, or it'll be 9:47 to 9:58 and 30 seconds, I believe, something like that. So around that time you'll hear the music, as you always do, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Oh, okay.
Is there any organization that I usually give some sort of plug at the end of an interview? Like, was the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund with you, or any organization that I should mention?
Well, we worked together with Pete Kennedy off and on with my attorney and stuff, but for the most part, it was my consumers and we that took care of this matter ourselves.
That is so cool. Awesome. I want to just share that then. I'll repeat what you just said. Okay, we come back in two minutes.
Okay.
Bitcoin is a new form of money controlled not by banks, governments, or corporations, but through mutual commerce between free individuals. To learn more, visit weusecoins.com. Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
If you are struggling to pay or haven't been making your student loan payments, listen carefully to this urgent alert. Have you been out of school for 10 or more years and you're still making your student loan payments? Are your student loans past due or even in default? Can't go back to school because of an old student loan problem? Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. One quick 10-minute call could help you solve your student loan problems. So call right now. Not available in all states. Payments may vary based on income. 800-215-6813. 800-215-6813. 800-215-6813. 800-215-6813.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. Peace News now returns. We're speaking with Michael Hartman, a raw milk farmer in Minnesota. You may have heard about him because he's been arrested for selling raw milk. How many times have you been arrested, Michael?
Actually, I really haven't been arrested. They came out and I got warrants and everything else, and they was threatened, but actually I never did spend any time in jail.
So what's with all the headlines that I read about Michael Hartman arrested again? What's that all about? Is it just people being inflammatory?
Yes. I don't know where they get that from, but no, I've never been arrested.
Well, were you scared? I mean, what was going through your mind when these agents show up on your property?
Well, you know, for a couple days, yeah, you didn't know what was going on, if you were wrong or you're right or whatever. But after about 3 days, when you think the whole thing over, I kept saying to myself, what am I doing wrong? And who are these people that got hurt? You know, and we searched our customer base to see if it was any of our customers, and they all said, no, none of us. So I don't even know who these people were.
It's so convenient that they can allege that someone was harmed, right? Because isn't that what they're in the business of? Is you know, they're trying to make the case that they have to stop you, a very dangerous farmer, from providing raw milk and cheese and eggs and things that your customers want. They have to stop you from doing that to keep everybody safe. And so they make up what I think. You know, I think it's pretty clear. If we haven't heard who these injured parties are by now, I think it's pretty clear that the government agents were bluffing. And they're making themselves appear useful. Like, oh, well, without the government agents, you know, there would be people getting sick all over the place. But when in reality, they're just keeping the mainstream from learning about the safety of raw milk and how nourishing it can be and how many people want it. I mean, you yourself have a waiting list. You aren't able to provide as much milk as you would like to all of the people who want it. And let's talk about that. I asked earlier if you have a website or something that you want to publicize. You said you keep things private. Why is that?
Well, like in Minnesota, here, the Constitution or whatever, it always says if you're selling directly to the consumer, which is a private, and then the government doesn't have any jurisdiction over that. So when you start getting websites and advertising, now you're actually advertising to the public. Or if you're having like a buying club or somebody in between, or a LLC or whatever, which we don't, now actually you're probably selling it to the buying club, and the buying club is in between the farmer and the consumer, and now we're not private. So we decided that we weren't going to get involved in any of that. It's just going to be one-on-one, and that's the way we kept it. And by the word of mouth, it got around so fast that we couldn't handle the customers anyhow.
Wow. Hey, what are your interactions with police like now?
You know, that has changed a lot. At the beginning, they just thought they could come and do as they want. But with the sheriff and even with the cops, I've really questioned what they did. And when the warrants, they didn't state what statute or law I didn't abide by. And we proved that by Supreme Court cases that they have to tell you what law that you violated, and they got to prove that to the judge. And none of these warrants did that. So when I explained that to the sheriff and the deputies, they just said, well, what's going on here? And so I did get a lot more respect out of them now, and they're starting to listen a little bit more of really what's going on. And now they find out that it's only been alleged and all this stuff never really happened. I think they got a different attitude a little bit.
When did you decide to contact a lawyer?
There was, when the procedures were beyond what I could understand, I had to get somebody in to help me out. And so some of the times he was representing me, some of the times I did it myself, and I brought him in when I needed him.
How did you feel about that decision?
I felt pretty good because even my attorney said, you can do things that I can't do because I'm an officer of the court.
Wow, what does that mean? You mean you could be more honest?
I could stick to my constitutional and my religious beliefs, where attorney probably representing you can't do all that as much.
Yeah.
So there is a difference.
Well, would you have been willing to go to jail for what you felt was right?
I was ready for it. In this last hearing, when the judge said I violated my probation, and when the sentencing time came and she said there's been an ongoing disagreement, and the state had 4 years to prove that I don't have these constitutional rights or fundamental rights, I told my attorney when she said I violated my probation, that I didn't have a license and I was selling raw milk, and yet she said that hasn't been settled and it's been disagreement, I was ready to go to jail because I was under the assumption that she was going to put me on probation under the restrictions that I can't use the creamery, I can't sell, and I told him, I said, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to not accept her offer, and I was going to go to jail. And then my family already knew it. They were going to take care of the operation, and then then my attorney had to get this to appeals court or take it up and take care of it.
You say your family was prepared. What were they thinking? What did they say to you?
Well, they understood what I meant. They understood what they had to do, and we never really questioned and everything else. They understood that I was going to do what I had to do.
Wow. Hey, we got a question from the chat that's a little from left field, but maybe you'll take it anyway. What do you think of fluoride in the water supply?
That's like putting antibiotics or whatever. I totally disagree with that. And there's more things coming out against that than anything. But whatever.
What do you think about other cases around the country that are similar to yours? For example, Mark Baker of Baker's Green Acres is in Michigan, alleged by the Department of Natural Resources to be growing feral pigs, even though they're contained and very popular with the local restaurants. Or Vernon Hirschberger in Wisconsin, who was also prosecuted for the crime of selling raw milk. You have any thoughts on these cases?
Well, like all of them, mine the same thing here. You know, we're challenging by their jurisdiction, or that we don't have this authority or we don't have this right. And at some point, somebody's going to have to start this, and little by little, the people are going to start to understand, and they're going to put pressure against the court system or the agencies or whatever. But it's all got to start someplace, and I think a lot of us, we just took it on and says we're going to challenge it. And I think right now, I think it's pretty much acceptable by some of the government officials that this isn't going to go away. It's going to stay. And people are starting to wake up and say, wait a minute, there is something about this raw milk. There is something about, this organic food, And so it's a growing trend. And the more the government pushes it, the more the people are going to start to look at it and wonder what's going on.
I know myself, when I first heard about raw milk, I said, what? I haven't been getting real milk all these years? And I tried it and was changed forever. There is no question. When I drank that first glass of raw milk, I will never forget it because I could taste the difference immediately. It felt alive, and it, in fact, was alive. And I decided to always purchase raw milk from then on, and fortunately, where I lived in Philadelphia, that was possible. Tell me what your customers say about why they chose to consume raw milk, why they sought you out.
Well, the story is the opposite. They wanted raw milk, and my brother and I, we said, well, what do you people know, you city people know about raw milk? Because we grew up on it. We didn't think of it. But what we realized after a while, these people that were seeking raw milk knew more about raw milk than we did. And they really taught us and got us clued in what was all going on and the benefits of it and everything else. And a lot of the people, they started to understand it, and they were doing the reading. They were doing the Mayo Clinic down in Rochester, the research that they did way back in the 20s and the 30s, where they were curing 40% of their patients with raw milk. So,
well, I've got a lot more questions for you, Michael, but unfortunately we are out of time, and I really appreciate that you made the time to be with us today. And you said it was all thanks to the support of your customers, your consumers, so I want to thank them as well. Thank you, the people who supported Michael. Thank you, Michael, for being on Peace News Now tonight.
You're welcome. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
Free Press Publications is...
All right. Hey, thanks again, Michael. So I'm going to disconnect for now, but I want to thank you again, and I will send you... is it just by phone that I should contact you, or do you have an email address? Actually, don't give it to me. I'll call you probably tomorrow, and I'll just leave a message just giving you a link to this episode so that you can send it out to your club.
Okay. I would appreciate that.
All right. Disconnecting.
So, okay, well... And then there's going to be a little bit more. You got time, or maybe don't have time?
Yeah, I have a few minutes. We're on a break right now. It's a longer break.
We appeal the order, so that'll be a while yet. But our next step is to do a 1983 Federal Rights Act against the department and the state to finish this off here for once and for all.
Okay, very good. Well, I look forward to hearing the updates from you when you can give them. Don't hesitate to call us again, Michael. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We'll do that. You're
I'll
welcome.
speak with you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Boy, that is encouraging news. I'm so glad to hear that. And he is a hero to me and to many others. We will be back with more news from Peace News Now. Corner News made the front page in Keene, New Hampshire for accepting Bitcoin. The Harmony for Peace organization, friends of ours who put on a concert in Philadelphia celebrating the International Day of Peace. They have a new program that they wanted to share with us. Plus, Border Patrol agents pull a gun on a Boy Scout for video recording. And an LA street artist puts Obama posters all over the bus benches and places where people who are going to a fancy dinner, a fundraiser dinner, are going to see him and see the pictures say like scandalous and scandals all over his face and all over his history. And very cool art, cool way to make a statement. So we've got all that coming up. Plus, you can donate to make Peace News Now continue. This show is sponsored entirely by viewers like you. We're going to continue with your donations or without, but it really helps. Every donation lets me know what sort of content you're enjoying. So when I see, oh, hey, look, I got a couple of donations, it doesn't have to be for a lot, but make a donation when you like something that I do so that I know to keep doing it. So we'll be right back. Here's some ads.
now offering a public database of police abuse and misconduct. Find them online at accountableauthority.com. In the news, the government is seeking more than $800 million that they say FedEx earned for shipping drugs from 2 internet pharmacies, as reported by the Washington Post. The U.S. District Court in California filed a 15-count indictment against the delivery service last Thursday, alleging the company knew it was delivering drugs to dealers and addicts. FedEx denies the charges, arguing that monitoring packages for illegal substances isn't their job because they aren't law enforcement. The indictment states that a catch-all category, which was not tied to yearly sales goals or specific employees, allowed the company to take money from fly-by-night businesses. FedEx is due in court on July 29. On Monday, the Detroit Water and Sewage Department decided to suspend mass water shutoffs in Detroit for 15 days. Department spokesman Bill Johnson told the Detroit News that the city was not stopping the shutoffs completely, but rather pausing to give an opportunity to customers who have had trouble paying their bills to make arrangements. The department has faced criticism from around the globe for shutting off water to thousands of customers since March. A new investigation by USA Today calls into question the methods used by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives when conducting drug sting operations. By analyzing U.S. court files and prison records, USA Today found that 91% of people arrested for drug stings are racial or ethnic minorities. Also of concern is the ATF's tactic of offering suspected criminals hundreds of thousands of dollars in rewards for robbing fake drug stash houses. Similar to the FBI in trafficking suspected terrorists, the ATF creates new crimes rather than solving old ones. The drug sting operations have quadrupled in the last decade. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from My Magic Mud, all natural teeth whitener. Go to mymagicmud.com to hear a short interview with Dr. Griffin Cole. That's mymagicmud.com. And support comes from Brave New Books, now offering Pro Pure Water Filtration, the only gravity-driven all-in-one fluoride removal system that also alkalizes the water. Find them in Austin, 1904 Guadalupe Street, or online at bravenewbookstore.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, July 22nd. Check out the website at thelibertybeat.com. Last week, Australia became the first developed nation to abolish the controversial carbon emission tax, as reported by the Russian Times. Prime Minister Tony Abbott, who heads the Liberal Nationals Coalition, promised to replace the tax with a government fund of $2.55 billion, which will be paid to industries working towards reducing emissions and using cleaner energy. The Australian Senate voted 39-32 to end the tax, which in 2012 charged nearly 350 major polluters $22.60 for every ton of greenhouse gas produced. The California State's Division of Oil and Gas and Geothermal Resources issued a cease and desist order earlier this month, after officials warned that companies may have been pumping fracking fluids and other toxic waste into drinking aquifers. At least 11 oil and gas waste injection sites were immediately shut down until a review can be completed. The action comes as California's agriculture industry struggles to cope with a drought that's emptied reservoirs, costing the state more than $2 billion this year. The Obama administration announced its plans to reopen the U.S. eastern seaboard for offshore oil and gas exploration, despite the threat to sea life. Environmental groups attempted to extend a decades-old ban against drilling off the Atlantic coast by illustrating the dangers of sonic cannons, which emit powerful pulses of sound into the ocean to help locate energy deposits. These sound pulses have been known to greatly affect sea life, including dolphins, turtles, and whales, disrupting their natural sonar and, in some cases, causing death. Support for Liberty Beat comes from Mass Appeal, affordable, high-quality printing, now accepting Bitcoin, online at massappealinc.com. And support comes from GrowYourOwnGroceries.org, homegrown food on every table. That's GrowYourOwnGroceries.org. This is the Liberty Beat for Tuesday, July 22nd, 2014. I'm Brian Hagan, reporting, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Like many young inner-city students, Chicago area high school sophomore Brandy Perkins struggles every day to motivate her teachers. The frustrated 16-year-old talked to Onion reporters this morning to discuss the challenges she faces in reaching out to her underperforming educators.
Connecting with the teachers gets harder and harder every year. We all come in every morning eager to learn, but most of the teachers just seem completely uninterested in education. One of my teachers, Miss Manley, has been particularly hard to work with. She was quiet at first, but she showed some potential. I thought maybe she just needed a little time to come out of her shell, but as the weeks went by, she just sat there listlessly at her desk, never talking or participating. It just makes you feel so helpless.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. This begins the second hour of Peace News now. We are live, broadcasting from Keene in the Shire. This July 22nd, 2014. An LA street artist blasts Obama for his scandalous fundraiser. President Obama greeted by scathing street art as he arrives in LA for a $32,000 a plate fundraiser. This from truthrevolt.org, published today as President Obama arrives in Los Angeles for his $32,000 per plate fundraiser. At the home of Shawna Rhimes this weekend, a local street artist is pointing out the irony of the producer of the hit TV show Scandal, a show about Washington public relations firm that specializes in managing political scandals, hosting the producer of such actual scandals as the cover-up surrounding the Benghazi attack, the lost hard drives of the IRS officials targeting conservatives, and the Fast and Furious gun-running scheme. Posters went up Monday night all over Hollywood around Rhimes's Hancock Park home and the Sunset Goer Studios where Scandal is filmed. The posters feature a modified version of the Scandal logo, which now reads Scandals, and a quote from Rhimes's infamous commencement speech at Dartmouth, where she urged undergraduates, "Don't be an a-hole." The artists added a hashtag to the epithet in a seeming nod to another part of Rhimes's speech in which the producer called out online social movements like Michelle Obama's hashtag Save Our Girls as being faux activism. Quote, "A hashtag is not a movement," Rhimes declared, and here you can see one of these posters is featured right outside of Rhimes's home. Beautiful street art, seditious, important, effective. This is not the first time that Los Angeles street artists have spoken truth to power. In May, posters illuminated bus shelters in Century City, lampooning Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, with Obama silhouetted against a sky between two teleprompters. On April 15th, inflatable IRS On April 15th, inflatable IRS Death Stars appeared in the front of Westwood Federal Building and the IRS headquarters in downtown Los Angeles, highlighting the current public sentiment for the scandal-embroiled institution. Here's some more pictures that you can see. This is just on street signs. It's on electricity boxes. It's on trash cans and bus benches all over Hollywood. So this big picture of Obama, the word scandals right above. He looks like it's in a mugshot. And then the words, "Don't be an a-hole," down below with a hashtag. How effective Is it? Well, it's getting national press, so that's something. If you're a street artist and you have a political statement to make, maybe you could learn something from what this street artist has done. Now, at this point, it's unknown who exactly is behind the street art. I would like to hear from the artist himself. This is a new thing as well. At the end of this episode, it's not already up there, but I want Peace News Now to be a place where newsbreakers, seditious activists, people like Michael Hartman who need to be a little bit private about what they're doing but can also share some important things with the public, plus people like this street artist. So what I'm going to do, maybe you already do this. You use PGP encryption for your email. I've got a PGP key, and it works sort of like Bitcoin. You've got a public key and a private key. You can release your public key to the world. So I can put that on the website for Peace News Now and say, hey, this is the PGP key for contact@peacenewsnow.com. If you've got something that you want to share, or if you want to connect with us somehow but be private about it, you use that PGP key, and you use that to encrypt the email that you're about to send me. Then I need your public key, and I can use that to decrypt whatever you've sent me. So that's how it all works. It's free. So if you're interested in securing your email communications from, I don't know, people like the NSA, you may want to look into PGP encryption. If you've got something that you want to send to Peace News Now in private, you can do that by heading over to peacenewsnow.com, and we will soon be adding our PGP encryption to the About page. So look for that shortly. Coming up next in the news, though, is a slightly more depressing story. Unfortunately, it's not just scandals that are in it's not just scandals in Washington that are happening, but all over, as federal agents from the Border Patrol turned a gun on a Boy Scout after detaining them for photography. So after detaining a van of Boy Scouts, this article from Photography is Not a Crime, where Carlos Miller does a fantastic job of chronicling these stories of people facing sometimes fatal consequences for simply recording video of government agents in the official course of their duties. But it doesn't matter. This is part of how the world is changing. So the article reads, after detaining a van of Boy Scouts for taking pictures at a checkpoint, threatening to throw them in prison for 10 years on a fabricated felony, a United States Border Patrol agent whipped out his gun and aimed it at one of the boys, just to let him know he means business. But we can all breathe easy, because a Boy Scout leader has assured us the boys have since learned their lesson. Charles, according to KCCI, quote, Charles Vanderheed with the Mid-Iowa Council Boy Scouts of America said Troop 11 learned a valuable lesson. Quote, we want to make sure they follow the rules. A scout is a good citizen. It would be a good lesson in civics for that young man and that troop, he said. A BS statement from a BSA official. The Boy Scouts of America should be demanding an apology and an investigation into the incident. The incident took place this month as a group of Iowa Boy Scouts were on a 3-week road trip trying to enter Alaska from Canada in a 4-van caravan. One Boy Scout pulled out a camera and snapped a photo of a Border Patrol agent. The agent immediately confiscated the camera, ordering all the scouts out of the van, telling them he needed to search them and their luggage. One of the scouts tried to pull a piece of luggage down from the roof of the van to enable the agent to search it, apparently trying to do his good deed for the day. But that caused the agent to fear for his life. Within a second, the Boy Scout was staring down the barrel of a gun, a crisis that is not covered by the Boy Scout handbook. The agents detained the scouts for 4 hours, ensuring they were free from any contraband or weapons before they were allowed to proceed with their trip into Alaska. Welcome to America, boys! Not so easy to leave, not so easy to travel around. This here's a border, and I'm your Border Patrol agent. Well, I see no authority behind his badge. I see his actions as criminal. What do you think? Call in. Our Skype address is Peace News Now.
Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges start a conversation with your neighbor or your doctor or your family or your school. Now there's teachers and lawyers and business executives, and they all wear shiny badges and they all reject the state. Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges show the world that you reject coercion and aggression and oppression by the state. ShinyBadges.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. Stop harming your body with coffee from grocery stores or most chains. Start making a difference, 1 cup at a time. We've partnered with Camano Island Coffee Roasters to offer you a free pound of BuzzBox coffee. It's organic, so no harmful pesticides or toxins. Shade-grown, meaning less acidity and no heartburn. Try the best of the best for free. Just cover shipping. 10% of future purchases go toward helping us give the gift of human freedom around the globe with at least 100 microloans via World Vision. Go to coffee.freetalklive.com.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone: 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309. Are you looking for an excuse to come check out New Hampshire this fall? You're invited to Keenevention. Keenevention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, do some Robin Hooding, and learn about making the move. Keenevention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenevention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, Rich Paul is our first announced keynote speaker, and more are being announced now at keenevention.info. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenevention this October 31st through November 2nd. You can pre-order your tickets now for just $60 at keenevention.info, or you can pay with Bitcoin. Visit keenevention.info for more information and to lock in your tickets at the pre-order $60 price for the whole weekend. Visit keenevention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenevention.info.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Peace News Now. We started off the show talking about the underground raw milk movement. Now we're just getting into peaceful resistance news, such as the peaceful resistance of taking video or pictures of Border Patrol agents while in the course of their duties. But that sometimes has some violent consequences, as this Boy Scout troop found out. We were just sharing an article with you from photographyisnotacrime.com about a troop of Boy Scouts from Iowa who were traveling by caravan through Canada to Alaska, but they were stopped by a Border Patrol agent with a bad temper. He drew his gun on one young man and detained the scouts for 4 hours, ensuring they were free from contraband or weapons. Not even a scout knife. This quote from another article, reading from photographyisnotacrime.com, quote, Fox said one of the scouts took a picture of a Border Patrol official, which spurred agents to detain everyone in that van and search them and their belongings. Quote, the agent immediately confiscated his camera, informed him he would be arrested, fined possibly $10,000, and 10 years in prison. Fox said he was told it was a federal offense to take a picture of a federal agent. Not wanting things to escalate, Fox said he did not complain. Another of the scouts was taking luggage from the top of the van to be searched when something startling happened. Quote, he hears a snap of a holster, turns around, and here's the agent, both hands on a loaded pistol, pointing at the young man's head. Fox said that had them all in fear. Well, I hope there's a lawsuit. But don't you know, good citizens don't file lawsuits. This was a good civics lesson. Well, that's the way one scoutmaster put it. I think that's weak. These children have every right to film a federal official. Regardless of what the law says, these men are acting under the color of law, and they're doing it under taxpayer dollars, which are, by the way, stolen. So they're doing the right thing by holding these agents accountable. Shouldn't we know if Border Patrol agents are pulling guns on teenagers? Isn't that something that's in the public interest to be aware of? But if this Border Patrol agent had his way, you'd never know. Because he's willing to use threats, true or not, to gain compliance and control a situation. It's indeed what government agents are trained to do in all situations. Call in with your thoughts. We've opened up the call-in line, which is 443-424-8347. Spells out Hi-Fi Civ Dis, as in civil disobedience. Now, one way that a person can become trained in civil disobedience is to begin a childhood of peace. Well, the Junior Peace and Music Ambassador Program from Harmony for Peace Foundation could have you doing just that if you are a young person who loves peace. Reading from harmonyforpeace.org, we know that you believe in the power of music, that music touches our hearts, that music speaks for us. Music crosses oceans and borders, reaching to many around the world. Uniting people from all cultures and backgrounds, music makes a difference in the world each day. And as you play together, you are part of that difference. This you can find at harmonyforpeace.org if you'd like more information about their ambassadorship program. Just a bit of info. They say, quote, "We invite you to join our effort in using the power of music to spread our message of international peace and friendship." And I can't think of a better time to spread the message of international peace than right now when World War III is knocking on everyone's door. To encourage our mission of international peace, understanding, and collaboration, Harmony for Peace has created the unique role of Junior Peace and Music Ambassador. The Junior Ambassador is a year-long honorary title given to a selected musical talent. He or she will be coached and mentored by a known professional artist and will be presented and featured at the Harmony for Peace's annual International Peace Day concert. During a term, the Junior Peace and Music Ambassador represents Harmony for Peace and gives community service time to promote peace and friendship among young people, through performances or cultural event activities. Appearances at these events are, of course, voluntary and are planned in advance with the winner and his or her guardian. Above all, the Junior Peace and Music Ambassador represents his or her cultural heritage, promoting unity through music. Here are the key dates. The application process has already begun just 2 days ago, July 20th. The application opens at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, so it is now open. You can file your applications. However, on August 11th, that's August 11th, applications close at midnight Pacific Time. On August 20th, the results of the final round selection will be announced, and on August 24th to September 4th, you can call back for an audition, which takes place in Center City, Philadelphia, so it might help to be close by. Also, September 10th, the final results will be announced. So the grand prize, the selected winner will receive a feature spot at our second annual International Peace Day concert at the Verizon Hall Kimmel Center for the Performing Arts on Saturday, September 20th, 2014. A monetary prize of $300 will be presented. There will be a runner-up in each instrument category whose name and biography will be mentioned both on our website and our concert booklets. Well, this is awesome. I mean, if you're a young person who plays an instrument, you have got to be involved. You must be between the ages of 12 and 17. You need to bring a note of permission from your guardian or your parents. You have to have a minimum of 3 years of music instruction, so don't be an amateur. And please tell us the name of your instructional teachers. Your musical instrument must be string, piano, brass, or wind, and include a $20 processing fee with your submission. But hey, you're doing it for peace. It's all for charity. And I went to the International Peace Day concert last year. It was amazing. Incredible. I cried. Peace News Now will return after this.
After logging onto the Xbox One game console at one of his classmates' homes, 12-year-old Michael Cutler admitted to reporters this week that he really does not have the slightest clue about what his friend's name could be.
I mean, his name might be Brian. No, wait, Brian's my other friend, the one with the PS4. Yeah, if I'm being totally honest, there's no way I can tell you his name. Not a chance.
Noting that the boy had, quote, an absolutely huge HD TV and a bunch of games his mom won't let him play, Cutler confirmed that he could recall only the faintest details about his friend, including the fact that his mother makes chocolate chip cookies and that he has a dog of some kind.
He's got Killer Instinct, Assassin's Creed, Battlefield 4, and Titanfall? Man, that game's awesome. Anyway, I've just been calling him Flamethrower because that's his gamer tag. Hopefully he doesn't catch on. Hey, can I stick around for a few more hours? We're so close to beating this.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is the Central Scrutinizer. I steal your labor by force through taxation.
My job is to
Spy on you and keep
you from hearing things like the Freedom Fiends. I especially
do not want you to torrent Freedom Fiends episodes to keep them drone-proof. Do not go to freedomfiends.com and click on the torrent link and learn how to torrent Fiends archives. Do not go to freedomfiends.com
and click on the torrent
link and learn how to torrent Fiends archives. Do not go to freedomfiends.com
and click on the torrent
link and learn how to torrent Fiends archives.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com. DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network. When you shop at Amazon via Shop.
Hey, Nathan, can you hear me?
I believe so.
Cool. All right. Well, ready to talk about VPNs?
Yeah, a little bit. Just don't ask me anything too technical, otherwise I might talk for too long or something.
I'll stop you. All right.
Stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday we have our longest running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com, advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
The NSA needs your help collecting all sorts of data. What websites have you been going to? What search terms have you been searching? Oh, if you're learning about Afghanistan, you might be a terrorist. But here on the line is Nathan, who's here to talk about ways to protect yourself from NSA scrutiny. How's that, Nathan?
Good evening, Derek.
And Nathan is calling us on our Skype line, which you can do as well. Just send a contact request to Peace News Now, and then you can sound as high quality as old Nathan here. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. So what do you want to talk about? VPNs. What's a VPN?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because a VPN is a virtual private network, and it's kind of a way of extending a private network across the internet.
Sounds technical. What's it really mean? Give me layman speak.
Well, in layman speak, it means that you can sort of, it's like if you have a network at your company that you use, it's like you can connect to that from anywhere, and no one can eavesdrop on you.
Well, how do you know?
Because VPN, well, I should get into the different protocols. If you use the right kind of VPN, it encrypts all the traffic that leaves your computer before it actually goes out over your internet. So no one can spy on you.
One example that people are familiar with already is Tor.
Tor is...
Go ahead and mute yourself if you have to cough. That's fine.
Tor is a little different. It still uses SSL, which is not necessarily what's used in a VPN. You see, there's 3 different protocols you can use in VPN. They're called PPTP, and then there's one that starts with L, L2TP, and then there's OpenVPN, which is what you want. The other 2 aren't as secure, and in fact, I was just reading here that supposedly the Edward Snowden revelations may reveal that the L2TP one was deliberately made insecure so that it could be eavesdropped on.
Is that so hard to believe? I mean, this was perfectly predictable. Right? I mean, the NSA puts out a technology, says, here, encrypt your emails and encrypt your internet. And then it turns out, oh, actually, we had the code all along.
Well, that is a concern, the idea that backdoors can exist in all kinds of things. And if it's closed source, if it's proprietary, then that's always a danger. I'm often surprised by the fact that more libertarians aren't into open source Linux kind of stuff, because that's really the only way you can have any modicum of security is by having your code be public, be open, so that it can be verified, that there's no secret backdoors or anything like that.
You're talking to me on a Linux box right now. I'm running Linux Mint 17, Cinnamon.
And indeed, OpenVPN, which is the kind of VPN that you want, uses SSL, which is based, in practice, is OpenSSL, which is open source. So, either you have more, I would be inclined to have more confidence in that than some, let's say you buy Windows and something comes with it that says it does VPNs. Well, I wouldn't necessarily be as confident in that.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust something that Microsoft puts out saying, oh yeah, we're going to encrypt your data. Now, tell me what you believe about PGP. We were talking about PGP encryption earlier in the show, about how people, if they have a big story, they want to be private about bringing this story to Peace News. Now, on our About page, we have a PGP key, a public PGP key, and that's what a person who wants to email us privately can use to encrypt their emails. Now, do you use PGP encryption in your emails, Nathan?
I don't know if I use them in my emails, but most people probably use them without even knowing about it. Anytime your browser says HTTPS instead of just HTTP, then it's using a kind of PGP. It's using some kind of encryption based on SSL, which uses the same kind of encryption technology.
How long have you been encrypting your data?
Well, probably not a long time. I think you should... You see, a lot of encryption that's out there is automatic now. It's used in ATMs and consumer appliances on your Android tablet. So most of the time, you don't actually have to use the encryption, because after it was invented in 1991, PGP, it's kind of become integrated into our lives in a lot of ways.
So why is it important for you to use a VPN if everyone's already using them? Why go through the extra step? Isn't it just going to happen eventually? I don't have to do any work here.
Well, the browser, for a lot of technical reasons, your browser has a lot of different ways of contacting other people on the internet, other nodes. There's DNS lookups. There's all kinds of different ports. What a VPN does is it encrypts your entire internet connection, all of it, so that no matter what traffic goes out or where it goes, it's going to go through that VPN. You can visualize it as the traffic goes from your computer to your provider of the VPN that you're getting it from, and then from there out into the world. So the internet sees the VPN. They don't see you or your IP address.
Where do you learn more about this VPN stuff, and how did you get set up?
Well, there's a few websites I go to. There's Wilder's Security Forum is a good forum to read about the more technical side. Then there's Ars Technica. That's a good, more layman-y source to read about security and VPNs. And it's important to do research on VPNs before you purchase one or get a free one, because you want one that has some kind of reputation. Because if you think about it, what you're really buying from the VPN provider is trust, right? You're kind of you hope that they won't just turn over your data to anyone with a shiny badge and an official-looking letterhead, right?
That could very well happen, although some companies use something called a warrant canary, where that's where an organization is not able to say publicly whether or not they've been given a private request by government. So an organization like whatever VPN you're using would get contacted by the government, and they would say, hey, turn over all the information you have about all your customers. And they might do that, and they wouldn't be able to tell their customers about it. But what they can do is keep up a public notice on their website saying, we have not been contacted by the FBI or by any government agency. We have not been instructed to give away our customers' information. And then that can be taken down. When that's taken down, that's what's called a warrant canary. We know that they have been given some sort of warrant, some sort of instruction that they have compromised their own data. And it's one way for them to be a little bit sneaky and follow the rules, but still communicate the message to their customers. So that's something to look out for, and it is something that has been used in a few instances. I think the Silk Road did one, and who's the email service that Edward Snowden was using at the time? Their name escapes me at the moment, but yeah, they also used Warrant Canary. So a very helpful tool.
It's interesting you bring that up because it was a similar topic came up with the TrueCrypt program, which abruptly was discontinued, I think, a while ago. Or no, it was very recently. It was discontinued. And they didn't have a warrant canary, but what they did was they posted a very strange goodbye message. They posted a message which basically said, well, we're ceasing all work on this project. We're not going to work on it ever again. You should go use what what comes with the default on Microsoft Windows, BitLocker.
Yeah.
So
very
since
sketchy.
That seems like the very sketchy thing to say, so naturally people thought this is probably the same thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's sometimes you have to read between the lines on that. And Xeon Enough let us know in the chat room that the company we were talking about is LavaBit. With a heroic founder who did challenge the government when they told him to turn over his data. Thanks so much for the call, Nathan. Still time for you to call in if you've got thoughts you want to share about peaceful resistance, security from the NSA, and ways to keep yourself safe. Peace News Now.
Ross Ulbricht.
So how you doing? How you doing otherwise, Nathan? You good?
Yeah, otherwise I'm doing okay. I actually was wondering if I could stay on for maybe like half a segment and talk about the downsides of a VPN, because there are a couple.
Yeah, let's continue with this topic. With the show notes...
I actually found out one just an hour ago.
Cool. Well, the only other show note that I've got to share with the audience is about how in Keene, the front page of the Keene Sentinel, the local paper here, is talking about what is Bitcoin and where you can spend it. In Keene, businesses who accept Bitcoin. Corner News, a tobacco shop, a pipe store, a Japanese restaurant, a hairdresser's, and I'm working on a burger shop here in Keene. So, like, tons of places to spend Bitcoin.
Are they all using Android and iPhone apps?
Yes.
Well, I guess not iPhone.
Yes, there is an iPhone app for Coinbase.
Oh, there is?
Yes. So one merchant is able to use Coinbase through his iPhone. And I think it's actually probably through the browser, but it still works just the same. Works pretty nice. Others have used Android devices, like Daryl W. Perry gave Corner News just an old Android phone that he used to have, so that they can process Bitcoin transactions. They still had a problem with it. I went there the first day the first day that the story broke, and went to go spend Bitcoin. I've done it before in their store, but the clerk didn't know how to do it. It was awful. So
well, that's interesting because I wonder how they integrate those with the existing POS system. You know, those little computers they usually type on.
It's separate. It's separate for them. They have a regular register, and then they have the phone. But what I think it's going to be coming to for all businesses, Nathan, is they're all going to be using tablets. Every register is going to become a tablet, and it's going to have the little swipe thing, the Square merchant app thing on the top. And then it will also be able to accept Bitcoin. So it'll be easy peasy. And it will take up no space. Who needs a register anymore?
Right.
I mean, do they even use... I mean, cash is so annoying. I hate to use cash. Anyway.
Well, you always have to count it out, right?
Yeah, you have to count it out and you have to touch it. It's the touching the cash that I hate the most. Like, it's
You
not...
just hate getting all that cocaine on your fingers. Huh?
Counting isn't a big deal, but I know that people don't wash their hands. I know how the bubonic plague spread with rats and all that. It wouldn't be too far-fetched for me to envision mass diseases spreading through paper money. It's an archaic form of transferring value. We have encryption now. We have the internet. Everyone carries around a computer in their pocket. I think it's time we move to digital cryptocurrency.
Amen.
All right, so we're coming back in 1 minute. Hang tight.
That I could get support myself, it called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Welcome back. This is the final segment of the show. This has been Peace News Now. We're still on the line with Nathan, but you can make your calls at 443-424-8347. That number spells out Hi-Fi Civ Dis, as in civil disobedience. We also have a Skype line. It is Peace News Now, currently occupied by Nathan. What's up, Nathan?
Not much. That's funny you mentioned 443. That's actually the port number for SSL encryption.
Well, how about that? What a coincidence. That's
small world.
That's our phone number. So you said you had more that you wanted to share on VPNs. Go for it.
Well, a lot of people talk about the benefits and the positives of VPNs, and that's what we did last segment. But there's also some downsides that you have to know, or I think people should know about before they get into these to take care of their own privacy. So obviously the big one is that you're putting trust in your VPN provider, right? You're basically hoping, ideally you want a VPN provider who won't just hand out your info to the first guy in a suit who shows up at the door, right? But beyond that, you kind of, you see, you can't really have much assurance that they won't just sort of hand your data over to any time they get a subpoena or a court order or anything like that. So obviously you can't ever have perfect trust or perfect security, but I think it's still important to have some kind of reputation. You want a company that people know about, that people talk about, and you also, for the same reason, you want one that you have to pay because you want them to have an interest in your privacy, which may not be the case for free ones.
Like Tor? Like you were talking about how Tor sort of uses a different protocol, one that might not be safe.
Well, no, that was the other VPN. There's you're actually, like the VPN I use, they provide the L2TP mode, which is a slightly different protocol than SSL, which is the same as OpenVPN, and that's the one that was the Snowden revelation showed is not as secure.
I see. But what about people like me who just want to use a simple Tails Linux? You know, it boots up from a USB, it connects everything through Tor. I thought that was basically a VPN. Aren't I safe? Aren't I encrypted?
Well, the thing is, with a VPN encrypts all of your traffic, and from the outside world, it all appears to originate from the VPN provider. So,
but isn't that the case with Tor?
Well, you see, Tor, most people, when they use Tor, they're going to use the Tor browser, and the Tor browser, and the reason that you would use that is that there's so many places for security leaks. There's DNS lookups. There's all kinds of ways that information can leak out of your browser. The Tor browser is relatively safe, and in fact, the Tor browser allows you to disable JavaScript. That's another way that some people think your information can leak out. But a VPN encrypts everything.
Yeah,
so
but
there's no possibility for leaks.
Tails Linux encrypts everything. Tails Linux has all the setup for like going through email and your browser, and like everything, is already configured with Tails. Have you used it?
Well, the other problem with the Tor network is you can't torrent on it, and you can't use a lot of bandwidth. So in other words, yeah, it's going to be. I think I tried watching a video on the Tor network once, and it kind of loaded, but it was slow. It had to buffer a lot.
Right.
And if you want to use your full bandwidth, forget about it. In fact, they specifically instruct you not to do that on the Tor website. You'll slow down the whole network.
That makes a lot of sense. Hey, plus one other thing. I learned that when you're using Tor, or perhaps this goes for a VPN as well, and you're, say, looking up your Bitcoin address, you might look up a Bitcoin address, you might sign into your blockchain wallet, and then you go and you check your mail, and then you maybe go and you read some news, or maybe you Google yourself. This is all a bad idea, right? Because anyone who is sniffing those packets, or anyone who is able to decrypt what you've been doing, they can start to make a chain and start to link your identity to that address. Isn't that true?
Well, yeah, a lot of people use the same password for all their accounts online. So, for example, Davi Barker recently had a problem where his Bitcoins were stolen, but not by the Bitcoin software itself being hacked in some way. What happened was someone gained access to his Gmail, and then from there was able to redirect his Bitcoins.
So what other cons about using a VPN? What are the downsides? We get that it's more privacy. It's a little complicated. Right. What other downsides?
Well, it may be complicated for some users. Like on Linux, you might have to do a little setup. But on Windows, it's relatively easy. You just download the installer from your VPN, and it's usually installs without a hitch. Other cons: you're going to have problems in China. China has basically declared war on encryption. They'll randomly shut down VPN connections when they find them, and so you might have some problems there. But if you live in the free world where people don't just randomly shut down your encrypted traffic,
where's that? I'd like to move there.
Well, at least they're not randomly shutting down your encrypted traffic here in the U.S. That's one benefit. So assuming that's the case, then the downsides you're going to have a little less bandwidth than normal. Not a lot, but you'll have more latency. Your download and upload speed will be a little slower. Because you're going through another computer. And one difficulty that I recently came across just today is that a lot of services and accounts you use will get antsy and think that you're a hacker or something if you try to log in through your VPN. For example, I think my VPN is connecting from a server in Finland or something, and when I went to check my my Steam, it said, "Oh, error! This appears to be an unauthorized access. To answer these security questions to prove who you are." And then I did that, and they said, "We have emailed you your security code." So I went to check my online email, and guess what it said?
What?
It said, "Error! You are an unauthorized user. Please answer this security question to gain access to your email." You see, basically both of these, both my email and the Steam website were both thinking that I was, someone from China, or in this case, Finland, trying to gain access to my account.
I see. And so that was sort of a good thing for you. It was sort of confirmation that this is actually working.
It is good in a way, but it can be annoyance to some people who may not remember the answer to their security questions. That's why two-factor authentication is important. That's what Davi said could have prevented the hack on his Gmail if he'd linked it to his mobile phone, because then even if they hack it, they still have to have access to his mobile phone, which is unlikely.
Right, and for folks who aren't familiar, the way that works is when I'm going to sign into my personal email address, every time I get a little message that says, well, before you sign in, you need to provide us with your Google Authenticator code. And I go into my phone and press the Google Authenticator app, type in the code that's there, and then I'm able to sign in completely, because that confirms that I am really who I say I am. Not only do I have the username and password correct, but I have possession of my phone in this very moment. That means
Indeed.
I am me.
And that's called two-factor authentication, because the phone is the second factor.
Right, very secure.
It can also be like a security question or, you know, things like that. I was able to gain access to my own email, fortunately, and I was able to get my Steam up and running. But for some users who may not be prepared for the possibility of that, then they should take that into account. Make sure you have all the answers to your security questions. You have your mobile phone with you if that's your two-factor authentication. Because when you're on the VPN, again, you're going through the VPN. The outside world sees the VPN server. They don't see you. So from Google's perspective, it looks like someone in China or Finland or wherever is just trying to access your email. And that's you know, that raises some security flags for them.
What do you have at stake here, Nathan? Why is it important to you to share this information with everyone?
Well, see, the strength of security really depends on numbers, because if only one or two people are encrypting their data, it's easy for a government or a business or some large organization to just shut you down because you're alone, or because you're easy to identify. Like, take the way that China is shutting down. China is, you know, literally shutting down VPN traffic at random within their borders. So, but you see, the more people that use encryption, the harder it is to defeat, because it basically becomes you're not alone anymore. There's no way to. Even China is not able to defeat all the VPN traffic, all the encrypted traffic that goes on in their borders. So I think it's important to get the word out and educate people about this, because the more people that the more people that are security conscious and use things like, you know, VPNs and security questions and two-factor authentication, the more secure it makes everybody.
That's it from Nathan. This has been Peace News Now. If you want to join the 21st century with cryptocurrencies and encryption, take some time. Take some personal responsibility for your own privacy, for your own security. It could not be more important in this moment. Well, that does it for this week. We'll see you Sunday.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict, or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.